Glass Onion, a Knives Out story, is a sequel to the Knives Out movie that Rian Johnson gave us a couple of years ago. And although it is not a direct sequel, it still has the main character of Benoit Blanc, the world's greatest detective, played by Daniel Craig. Let's talk about that ending and everything else in between. But before we do have a contest currently going on. It is basically a giveaway we're going to be doing. All you have to do is be subscribed, hit that notification bell on, and let me know your favorite movie of the year so far in the comments down below. On December 25th, we will have a live stream and we will definitely be picking a winner then. We just had a recent giveaway and the winner received like some posters and gift card and all that, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that by subscribing down below. But as always, let's get into this and talk about Knives Out Glass Onion, because this is definitely one of those movies I think was an experience at the big screen. Now this is going to come out on Netflix December 23rd. If you got a chance to see it over this week, it did have a week long like stint at the theater, which was great, and I got the chance to see it there and very much so enjoyed it so far. I don't know if it's better than the first Knives Out for me. I definitely want to rewatch it again when it comes out on Netflix, and then I'll make that conclusion if it's good or not. But this story basically revolves around these group of friends, because I don't know if you can really call them friends after everything we learn from them, who were invited out to this private island from their billionaire friend, who pretty much is in charge of this like new technology called Alpha and all of this. And very much so, I think Rian Johnson portrayed this character in a way that another billionaire with a social media nowadays has been acting, which I think is very interesting and timely, considering the time that Rian Johnson made this movie was a very different time for that billionaire to where we are today. So very timely, and you'll catch it. You'll know who it definitely is reflective on. But that billionaire is played by Edward Norton here, and his name is Miles, and he pretty much is that douchebag billionaire that thinks they're saving the world, but it's just stroking their own ego by the end of it. So all of these friends get invited out to it. You have a slew of different people. You have Lionel, who is a scientist. You have the Connecticut governor, who is Claire. You have a fashion designer named Birdie. You have a Twitch streamer named Duke. And you also have the Twitch streamer's girlfriend. And we'll talk about why that is in quotations, Whiskey. And then on top of that, you also have Birdie's assistant Peg coming to the island. But you also have somebody who was a former business partner for Miles named Cassandra, who all received this little box that they have to solve. And that pretty much is the way that they are able to go to the island. Once this is solved, they pretty much get a chance to come to Miles' island to get a weekend away and do a murder mystery. As Miles says, come solve my murder. And that's pretty much the premise of Glass Onion. So Benoit Blanc actually also receives this box as well and is invited out to the island. And once we see everybody go out to the island, you see just how much of like them not really enjoying Miles' company and all of that. And as Cassandra points out, yeah, y'all don't care about him. Y'all just want to be stuck to him because he's like feeding y'all, and y'all are feeding off of his money. So you stroke his ego in order to get money, whether it's for a new campaign, to continue your scientific endeavors, your fashion line, or your social media presence. You're just there pretty much leeching off of this man, even though he is somebody y'all can't stand at all. So Cassandra and Miles' whole story revolves around them actually having this company that they brought up together named Alpha, and eventually Miles gets really like obsessed with this new substance called Clear, which is a hydrogen-based way of fueling things such as your car, homes, and all of that. And he wants to pretty much take a lot of the assets and the funding from the Alpha company in order to fund this new project with Clear Energy. But Cassandra's kind of like, I don't think that's safe. I think that's kind of dangerous, and I don't want to do this. I'm keeping my part of the company. And he does a way where he sort of makes it that he was the founder of the company. He started the idea and everything, and pushes Cassandra aside. And the only way was, of course, it's a he said, she said, but you have all of these friends who were friends with Cassandra as well. Duke, Claire, you have Lionel and Birdie, who pretty much testify against her in court and are just like, yeah, it was all Miles' idea. He like scribbled it down on a napkin and everything. So it was he who did all of this. So we actually find out all of this as well, because during the night of the murder mystery, Benoit Blanc actually was not invited to this. So it's kind of like weird for Miles to have Benoit Blanc when he didn't invite him. And so now things are starting to sort of brew together that there's something else going on here. Now, we find out during the night of the murder mystery, when Benoit Blanc solved the murder mystery that was supposed to take 3 days in like 5 minutes or so, that there's something else going on here. Cassandra has now gone off on a tangent. She's gotten out of the room because we see that the friends pretty much say, why did you come? What are you doing here? You shouldn't have come at all. And so she leaves, and then we have this whole thing going with, and Blanc had been telling Miles that somebody might be after trying to kill him in this whole thing because his friends definitely do not want him or care about him. We have Lionel and Claire, who pretty much are not thinking that this whole thing with Claire is a good thing, especially Lionel being a scientist who hasn't been able to clear it. We hear Miles already wants to take this into production and sort of present it to the world, this clear energy, even though Lionel has advised them not to. Claire sees this as a bad thing for her campaign, as she's going to be running again, and she doesn't want to be the one that sort of is associated with somebody who would be so reckless with all of this technology. That could definitely be Hindenburg type of the deal, as we hear Cassandra say it at a point in the movie. We then have the fashion designer Birdie, who did a lot of her sweatpants in a sweatshop in Bangladesh because she thought that this was a place where you make clothes that you sweat in, where they make sweatpants. And all of this was funded as well by Miles, but Miles wants her to take the whole blame for everything and get his name cleared out of it. So there is one theory on why she would want him dead. And then you have Duke, whose girlfriend is cheating on him with Miles, so there's another reason you would want Miles dead from Duke. So all of the friends can have various reasonings for wanting to have Miles dead, and of course Cassandra for everything that's happened to her because of Miles. And so Blanc is like, I'm gonna protect you, don't worry. And then we see that Duke actually drinks from Miles' glass and then dies. And so now Miles is freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. What's going on? Then the lights go off, and then we see that somebody shoots Cassandra, and she is now dead. And then Blanc's had enough, so he goes and puts them all into the room and is pretty much like, we know that there is one person here who did all of this. Let's talk about this. And then we go rewind all the way back. We find out that Cassandra actually died before even setting foot on the island because she had actually been killed by somebody, and the box came, and her sister, who was a twin sister Helen founded, went to Benoit Blanc, asked for his help in all of this, and Benoit was pretty much like, you're going to pose as Cassandra, we're going to the island together, and we're going to find out who did all of this. It's going to be risky, it's going to be all of this, and we're going to solve this. So we see them both go to the island. So this whole time on the island, when we were watching the movie, we thought it was the real Cassandra. It was not. That was actually Helen, her twin sister, who was investigating everybody's motives and want to come to the island and what actually happened between them and Cassandra and Miles in the court and all of that. And so you have Helen and Benoit trying to figure this out right before Miles can get away with everything. And we realize, like I said, that it was actually Cassandra who got all of this down on a napkin, and that's what she actually had emailed everybody prior about that she was going to reveal, because she had it in this red envelope, emailed everybody and told them about it, and then she eventually was killed because of this. Now, all of the suspects, of course, had a reason to want to silence Cassandra because, as I said, they were all clinging on to Miles' money, his power, and influence, so they would not want him to go down because of what Cassandra would prove, that she was the one who actually created the idea of Alpha, and it was Miles who just pretty much stole it and said it was his own. And so at that night, when they were all gathered there, Benoit pretty much says, yeah, this is what's been going on. Miles is the one who actually murdered Andy. We know this because of all the clues we got, because Duke had actually talked about earlier in the movie that he almost got pancaked by Miles's car on the way to Andy's, because Miles was on his way to get Andy to pretty much like stop at what they were doing with the envelope and all of that. And we learned that it was definitely Miles who poisoned Andy and killed her because he didn't want the things from the envelope being revealed, which of course was the napkin. And that is pretty much the way we figure it out, because we know that all of the other suspects we thought were suspects actually had gone to try and get Andy. Of course, they were not able to get her because Miles had been coming from Andy's already after killing her, and Duke was on his way where he almost got hit. Of course, Miles, when Duke is telling this story to everybody everybody at the beginning of the movie in the island says, oh, you're talking about Anderson Cooper, Andy. So he's trying to like divert things around. And so everybody thought that Andy was just like not trying to talk to them and dodging them, all of this, but she had actually just been murdered by Miles. That's the reason she never answered the door. And we actually learned that Helen, when she got shot, of course, at first we thought it was Cassandra who got shot, but she actually got shot by Miles with the gun that he took from Duke. But of course, she actually got saved because she still had Andy's like journal and where she was writing all the clues and all of that. And so Benoit just faked that she was dead by putting some hot sauce on her. And then he was like, okay, I'm going to distract everybody as much as I can in the living room. You go find that red envelope and then we'll expose everything. She does find it in the glass onion part of the mansion, and it's just right there. It was right there in front of Benoit Blanc's face at the beginning when he was looking at a picture of the whole friends at the Glass Onion Club they would go to, which is why Miles calls this house now the Glass Onion, because that's where they all pretty much met and all of that. And so they then expose everything that's happened to the group. They tell the whole story and they show the original napkin that Andy actually made the idea for. Pretty much like, yeah, Andy was the one behind it all. Miles is lying, and yeah, this is the truth. And Miles then just burns the napkin, and he asks everybody in the room, who saw that napkin? Was there a napkin? Who did it burn? And everybody sides with Miles because they're scared. They don't want to lose that money, that power, that influence that he has. And so we see that they are willing to even not care about Andy's death or Duke's death. And we learn that Miles actually did kill Duke knowingly because he put in his glass pineapple juice knowing that Duke was allergic to pineapples. But he tried to make it seem like somebody had tried to poison him with his own glass by putting something in the alcohol or whatever. And so when we look back at the movie, we see that Miles actually gave that drink to Duke on purpose, whereas Miles was saying he put it down and Duke must have accidentally grabbed it and drank it, but that the poison drink was meant for Miles, when in fact Miles always meant that drink for Duke so he would die and create more suspicion around everybody else. Benoit Blanc, now seeing that nobody's going to give up Miles, that this whole case is pretty much ruined, just tells Helen, who is the twin sister of Andy, just walk away because of the reasonings your sister walked away. And he hands her something in her hand, and then she just starts breaking all of the glass that's around here. The other guests too ensue in doing this, and then she tells Miles, like, I'm walking away because what if my sister walked away? She shows him the clear compound, which of course we find out is explosive throughout the whole movie, and she takes his lighter and she lights it up and everything just blows. And of course we have to talk about the reasoning that Miles is ruined now is the Mona Lisa he had actually gotten on loan from the Louvre, as he says, and that thing is being protected by some glass. But of course Miles, being the pretentious asshole that he is, made a way to have a safe thing where it opens up and the whole thing is exposed. Then actually opens it up so it goes into flames as well, and the whole mansion just starts being destroyed, and we see Benoit just enjoying it and just saying like, we did it. So now we have Miles, whose reputation is ruined. We have Helen, who was not able to really clear up things, and now the friend group as well are saying they saw Miles do all of these shady things. They saw Miles take Duke's gun, they saw Miles poison Duke, they saw that he actually was not the creator of Alpha, that he stole it from Andy, and that he's done all of these douchebag moves. So the friend group has turned on Miles, who for so long wanted to be talked about and remembered as the Mona Lisa, will now be remembered as the one who let the Mona Lisa burn. And that's pretty much how he will be remembered now, as this phony fake who just let some priceless artwork be burned. And that's the worst thing that can happen to Miles. And I think that is definitely a great ending, as we see Helen and Benoit looking into the distance as the police come, presumably to take Miles. So a very, very good movie. So much of it, very much so, was twists and turns left and right, and very fresh, and just kept you on your toes thinking of what was next. It is great to see this movie again and realize that from the beginning, Miles was telling us that this is going to be not anything you've seen. And whatever you think, just think the opposite, where we thought this movie was about his murder and solving who killed him, and when in fact he was the murderer himself from the beginning. And that's something he actually talks about to Benoit Blanc, about trying to be a disruptor and do something different that you might have not expected to see, and giving people not what they want but something that they need. And that's what this is about. And I think that's Rian Johnson also talking about his other movies such as The Last Jedi, which is a very polarizing Star Wars movie where many people felt betrayed by what it did, but many people were excited by what it didn't do, and what in fact it did do, where it took these risks, these grand visions, and brought them into the forefront. And people were expecting something completely different from a sequel, where this one did it in its own way. And I think that's a big thing about this movie, that it says, I'm gonna do not what you expect but what I think that you need right now. And it really turns the whole murder mystery on its head, where we think that this guy's being the one who's targeted the whole time, and it really lays that foundation to be felt that this is what this movie's about, this group of friends that wants to kill this one guy, when in fact it's just this one guy who is just a complete asshole, who is out there murdering people to do whatever it takes to feed his ego and whatnot. So I thought that that was great that that was laid out for this completely. About the glass onion, sort of everything being transparent and being right there, right in your face, also was a great way to tell us that this story is simple. This is the guy who everybody's leeching from. Why would anybody want this guy dead if they're pretty much taking from him, whereas opposed to him, everybody is disposable, can be taken out at his whim. So he would be the one who has more control over them and would actually want to just eliminate whoever got in his way, making him the murderer at the end of the day. And of course the envelope just being right in front of everybody's face in his office as well was a big thing. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. I will be making more videos on the glass onion, talking about it as well. There were a lot of cameos. I want to make a video just talking about the cameos because they were fun as well. And there were some that I didn't even realize until I saw an article talking about them. So I'll do a video on that over the weekend. And we'll talk more about this movie once it does release on Netflix. So stay tuned for that. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Like I said, we are running a giveaway right now. All you have to do is be subscribed, hit that notification bell, make sure that you are following us, and commenting down below your favorite movie of the year. That's going to get you an entry into the contest we're going to have on December 25th, and you will be able to win a giveaway. So make sure you are subscribed and commenting to enter into that. But as always, I'll see you next time. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Stay safe, stay positive.